Hey, what's going on everybody? I got a quick video here, well maybe not so quick, but I got a video here that I want to do for you all about how this TitanFall2 noob learned how to aim. And I want to start out with a little pro tip. So, pro tip, don't listen to the pros. Yeah, I know, okay. They're the pros, right? They're pro for a reason. Why shouldn't we listen to the pros? Well, the problem is, sometimes these amazingly good players don't remember what it's like to be an absolute noob like me and maybe like you. So in this episode, I want to walk through what a noob like me should really be doing to work on aim. Because frankly, I tried to listen to the pros, and the gameplay that you're seeing in the background right now, this is the result, and it's an absolute embarrassment. This is not me trying to fail on purpose. I am legitimately trying to play this game. I'm actually doing what I thought I was supposed to do, which is basically to work on my movement and work on my awareness and my positioning and just constantly be moving so that I can be out in front of everyone and always, getting the kill and having style points and everything else that all the pros do all the time. Well, the reality is it just doesn't work out. I mean, for somebody like me, the idea that movement is more important than aim, the idea that awareness and positioning is more important than aim, no. It's about as far from the truth as you can get. When one of the pros out there says, don't worry about your aim, the game will aim for you, the reality is these guys know how to aim already. They have such incredible aim that they can do an entire round with the aim assist turned off, and they still end up number one on the leaderboard with just an incredible score. But for the rest of us, for the people like me that are just absolute trash at playing this game, but we love it anyways, well, yeah, let's get down to what it really takes to actually improve your game as a complete noob. And what it really takes is aim. There's a lot of gameplay out there, there's a lot of tutorials out there on YouTube where, the pros and even some of the amateurs like me, they talk about what they think is the most important aspect of aim, and all they really talk about is your sensitivity settings for your controller. Now, I'm playing on PS4, I'm not doing PC at all, so I deal with the controller, and I have to deal with the clunkiness that is the controller in a first-person shooter, which is why we need aim assist. But when you get down to a lot of the tutorials out there, all they really talk about is the sensitivity settings. And I'm tired of tutorials that just talk about sensitivity settings. Because frankly, the sensitivity settings aren't that important. That's maybe like 20% of your overall aim. I mean, realistically, you've got sensitivity, you've got awareness, you've got positioning, you've got movement. There's 5 different things that I listed off right there. And sensitivity is only one of those, so it's really only going to account for about 20% of your overall effectiveness in this game. Now, if you can combine sensitivity with at least 2 other aspects, then you're going to have a much better chance of actually getting some kills. And the other 2 important aspects, I'm actually going to say movement is just about the worst aspect you can deal with in this game when you're trying to learn like I am. So to fix this, we're going to focus on, like I said, we're going to focus on aim assist. And then with awareness and positioning, we can use aim assist to our advantage. So how do you practice aim assist? How do you practice aiming in this game at all? That was a big question that I had for a long time. And it turns out that there's a fairly simple way to do that, which is to go into a private match, set up Attrition game mode on whatever map you like. I happen to like playing Colony, the new map that just released, the re-release of the TitanFall 1 map, which I never played TitanFall 1, so this is new to me. But I really like Colony because it allows me to combine, what little movement ability I have with aim assist and the ability to position myself fairly quickly behind other players, because there's a lot of options for moving around quickly in between buildings, on the ground, and on the roofs. So what I do when I want to practice is I head over to a private match like this, I set up Attrition, and I go grunt hunting. Yeah, grunts are about the dumbest little AI characters in the world when it comes down to it, but it can really help you learn how to use the aim assist in the game. So the thing is, aim assist is not going to just instantly snap your gun to any character, any player on screen. You have to be within a reasonable distance, typically, approximately one body size away from the enemy from what I can tell. And you can see in the background here in the gameplay that I'm kind of trying to learn how to snap to the enemies with my aim down sight. So what I'm doing really is just looking towards the grunts, generally trying to get my aim around the grunt before I aim down sight and start firing. And the big problem that I had in the previous gameplay that you saw, and why I'm trying to do this now, is because I was previously trying to just start firing and then aim. Now, I know the idea of pre-firing can often be really advantageous, especially if you're coming around a corner and you know somebody is there. But I took that a little too far. I was pre-firing all the time, and it was never working out. And you saw in the previous gameplay in that actual round that I was constantly missing. Because when I'm pre-firing, out of habit, I aim down sight. I go ADS, and I end up in a situation where I can't adjust my aim, and it's terrible. I rarely get hits that way. Now, every now and then, on occasion, I would get lucky and my sight would already be generally aimed toward another player and I would get the kill. But it was never really intentional. So the idea of coming into this match, into this private game with just me and these stupid little grunts, is to work on my use of aim assist. To figure out how close I need to be before the aim assist really kicks in. And then to deliberately practice moving around the map, putting my reticle over the grunt before I aim down sight and start firing. And as I started to do that, well, I started to improve. I started to be able to kill the grunts with fewer bullets. I started missing less. I wasn't wasting an entire clip trying to kill one grunt anymore. Because frankly, if I'm wasting an entire clip trying to kill one grunt, there is no way that I am ever going to be able to kill a real pilot. A real pilot is just going to annihilate me, as you saw before, because I'm just blowing all my ammo into the air around them. So yeah, there's your real tip there. There's something that an absolute noob like me can do to really improve your aim, to really improve your gameplay overall as a pilot. But after I practiced this for a little bit, after I went through and took my time to really figure out the aim assist inside of these practice matches, I went back out into some actual matches and I did two things. First off, I stopped moving around like an idiot, because frankly I was putting myself into some really bad position. I was constantly getting myself in front of the other players instead of behind them, and I was just dying because I was moving so fast and so frequently jumping between walls and things that I couldn't stop to get my reticle anywhere near the enemies before I started shooting. So I'm breaking all the rules of all the pros, and I am camping a tiny bit. I don't like to completely camp. I think that gets a little bit boring, but you know what? I'm a much more effective player when I just slow down. And by slowing down, I mean taking my time to listen, to use the minimap and the radar, and to have awareness of what's going on around me so that I can make better choices about where I am going to move. I can hear the enemies, I can hear gunfire, I can see what's going on, generally speaking, on the minimap. And it's a much easier situation for me to deal with when I just slow down. Now, as soon as I start slowing down, that gives me opportunity to also get my reticle over actual pilots. And you'll see in this gameplay now that I am doing phenomenally better. Now, no, I'm not the greatest player. I'm not going to get the high scores. I'm not even going to get anywhere near 20 kills. But compared to that first gameplay that you saw at the beginning, this is absolutely stellar gameplay. In fact, this round is honestly one of the best rounds I've had as a pilot, in pilot versus pilot. I was more than positive in my score. I was like, very highly positive at this point. Like 13 kills, 14 kills was that? That was an incredibly good round for me. And it was all because I took the time to figure out how aim assist works. So if you're a noob like me, if you're dying constantly, wondering how the pros do it, trying to figure out why you just can't seem to get any kills, slow down. Go into a private game against some grunts, learn how aim assist works. Start pointing your reticle toward the grunts, go ADS, and see if your reticle snaps to the grunt. And if it's not snapping to the grunt, then your reticle was too far away from the grunt to begin with, and you need to adjust for that. You need to get your reticle closer to the grunt before you ADS and start firing. Once you've practiced that, I spend at least 3 or 4 rounds doing that. So that's like 30 or 40 minutes of gameplay just practicing that. Once you've practiced that enough, you've got 3 or 4 rounds of that under your belt, go back into an actual game of pilot versus pilot so that you have plenty of opportunity to try out this new skill set that you're building, to deliberately practice against actual pilots. Slow down your gameplay. Take a few shots, move to the next building. Take a few shots, move to the next cover. Take it, just over and over and over again. Yeah, all of that slide hopping and bunny hopping and air strafing, I love doing that. I modded my controller to add extra buttons to the bottom of my PS4 controller so that I could do that better. And I absolutely love doing it. But if I'm dying constantly, what good is it to bunny hop and air strafe? So yeah, I'm going to slow down, I'm going to take more shots on target, get more kills, and then I am going to more intelligently move around the map, not just trying to be all flashy and huge style points here, but really intelligently move because I am trying to be more aware of my surroundings and of where the battle is. And once I start doing that, slow down to take the shots on target, then use bunny hops and air strafing to move around the map. Then I start getting good play. I start getting kills, and I end up with some pretty darn good gameplay. So that's pretty much it. That is my tutorial for you. From an absolute noob, me, a terrible player at this game, to you, somebody that may also be struggling just to get some kills when you think, oh man, I should have had that kill. Well, you probably need to work on using aim assist a little bit better. For sensitivity, it is important, and lower sensitivity is overall better. And if you look at the way I have my sensitivity set up, I've got it a little bit unusual. Most people recommend that you put your sensitivity slightly higher so that you can move a little bit easier and aim a little bit better, and then they want you to have your ADS sensitivity set to the same so that it's consistent. I disagree with that entirely, and I have the gameplay proof that you just saw to back up what I'm about to say. I'm going to say lower your ADS sensitivity. If you put your standard sensitivity on default, which is number 3, lower your ADS sensitivity to 2. And I say that because when I'm ADS, I'm like wildly inaccurate. I can't adjust to save my life. Now the effect that this has of lowering it, well, it's going to make it far more difficult to make big adjustments when I'm ADS. That means I have to be on target when I'm going into ADS. But if I am on target, then I can stay on target a lot easier because my movement, my look, my position when ADS is not going to be wildly flying all over the place. So yeah, I do think sensitivity is important. I do think position and movement and all of that is important. But until you have your aim down, the rest of that is kind of meaningless. So there you have it. That's my tips. That's my tutorial on aim assist, on practicing, on improving your aim before you worry about positioning and movement and all those other things that you need to deal with in order to become a better pilot. From one noob to another, I hope you've enjoyed this video. I hope this helps out. Thanks for watching this. I hope you enjoyed it. Please do leave a thumbs up, drop some love in the comments below. Be sure to subscribe. Thanks for watching, and happy gaming.